We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Wednesday, January 7th. Yesterday, a 3-2 day. Could have been so much better, man. We're right there on breaking through. Yesterday, 3-2 day. We started the day 3-0, hitting on Duke, going to the KFC Yum Center and being Louisville. Eastern Michigan versus Ball State wasn't a contest. I told you Ball State's absolute ass, and EMU proved that. Minnesota straight up beats Iowa. We had 6.5 points, but that was fine there. Fresno then goes to San Jose State and beats the Spartans. SGSU is just awful at everything, so it's okay. Well, it's not okay, but just future notice on that. And then Nevada plays a tremendous first 15 minutes against San Diego State and then proceeds to shoot, I'm not joking, 20% for the final 25 minutes of that game against SDSU. Yet Nevada still had a chance to win the game at the end. Ultimately, they lose to the Aztecs. So overall, 3-2 day, positive day. We were looking for more. Let's get that today, though, with our 5 best bets. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we're going to have our NBA best bets. We've got some big games today in the association, as you can see on the screen right there. Clippers, Knicks, Lakers, Spurs, just to name a few big games in the NBA today. You're not going to want to miss that video dropping in a couple hours. Also on the channel, our college football predictions. Of course, the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl are later this week on Thursday and Friday. Make sure to go check out our predictions linked in the description down below, along with now our NFL wild card predictions. Over an hour of full breakdowns and predictions for all 6 games this week in the wild card round. Can't wait for the NFL playoffs. Again, that was posted earlier in the week. Best bets and best player props are coming out again later in the week as well. Okay, on to the first now of our 5 best bets for college basketball, kicking things off with the standalone game, I guess, for the first hour. At 2 o'clock, we're going to go to our earliest spot. It's going to be Furman and Chattanooga. Give me Chattanooga money line at home at plus 115. Guys, I'll say this right now. This is extremely great value on Chattanooga. We are buying low at probably the lowest possible point we can buy in on Chattanooga. I think they beat Furman today, and I know you can look on paper and say, well, Furman's 10-5, Chattanooga's 6-9. 100% I understand. Chattanooga hasn't played at home in over a month, and Furman is not that good for a 10-5 team. So I'll break all of this down. Chattanooga has now lost, I believe it is, 4 out of their last 5 games. They have not played at home in over a month's time. Their last home game was December 6th when they played Southeastern Missouri State. And yes, they did lose that game, but now we are over 30 days since that L for Chattanooga. Since then, a win, okay, against a D1 opponent. They did beat a D2 team at home, but I don't count that. A loss to Auburn, then losing to Bellarmine, going to Alabama A&M and winning that game, going to UNC Greensboro and losing, and then most recently, losing to VMI. So Chattanooga does start conference play in the SoCon 0-2. I'll tell you this, though. Greensboro game, it is what it is. It's tough to go on the road and win. VMI, guys, we've been on this for a little bit with the Virginia Military Institute. That team shoots the hell out of the basketball. They are very difficult. They are like, this is going to be so random. They are like the they're the Brooklyn Nets right now of college basketball. No, not college basketball, of the SoCon, okay? Not the best team, but a team you just don't want to run into because if they get hot from beyond the arc, my goodness, they are trouble, okay? That's what VMI is. Just, again, just keep track of what VMI does all year long. They play at Eastern Tennessee State today. We're not going to be talking about the Keydets, but trust me, that team is dangerous. Anyways, Chattanooga losing to VMI on the road. I don't really care about that. This is a team that has not been at home in over a month. Sure, they have not played phenomenal basketball this season. I understand they're 6-9. Losses at home to the aforementioned Southeastern Missouri State, to awful Tennessee State. I'm not going to hold you on that. But other than that, their home wins North Alabama at home. Cool. And, that's it. But Chattanooga, I know they lost quite a bit of talent from last year's NIT winning team. There's still enough talent on this squad, and I do believe Chattanooga is just heavily underperforming right now. The roster is too good to be 6-9 and too good to go 0-3 if they were to lose today in the SoCon Conference. They are led in scoring by Jordan Frisson. Frisson is their best player, averaging 14 points per game. He is their starting point guard. Laid an egg in the VMI game, only scored 5 points, but this was a player that had put up 3 straight 20-point performances going into the UNC Greensboro game and going into SoCon play. Frisson, I believe, is a JUCO product, junior year, averaging 14 and 4 for the Mocs this season. Billy Smith is their only other double-digit scorer. Smith averages 10 points per game. Senior forward from Indianapolis, played a year at Miami of Ohio, then started last year in pretty much every single game for Bellarmine, averaging 14 points per game. Now he's with Chattanooga, averaging 10. Again, the Mocs did have to kind of retool their roster, I understand, because of last season. That's just college basketball at the mid-major level, especially at the lengths in which Chattanooga did it. Winning the NIT, you're going to get a lot of eyes on your team, and obviously, a good majority of their players that have transferred out or obviously graduated. Regardless, though, I do think there's still somewhat of talent on this Chattanooga team, and they're at home as well. And Furman's not as good as they're not that great of a 10-5 team. When you really look at the teams they have beaten, their wins are Columbia University, Ohio Christian, 2 D2s, Bob Jones, 3 D2s. Okay, you take that away now, it's really only 7 wins. All right, now let's dig even deeper into their victories. Queens at home, sure. Richmond at a neutral site, I like that one. Going to Elon and winning, that's a good one over a CAA school. Harvard at home, all right, I guess. Manhattan on the road, sure. Charleston Southern at home, okay. Mercer at home by 2 points. SoCon game, obviously. The one that I don't like is Furman's last game. There is negative momentum for Furman going into this one as they just lost to Western Carolina at home. Losing the Catamounts on your own home court as I believe at least 8.5 point favorites. Furman gets that game into overtime, or the Catamounts, I'll say, forces that game into overtime, and the Catamounts ultimately win the game in OT. Furman just went ice cold scoring to end the second half. I think they went like 4 minutes of clutch time without scoring a single point. Ultimately, the Catamounts come back into that game, and the Catamounts win it in overtime, outscoring Furman 15-12 in the overtime period. But ultimately, it was an overtime period that was completely driven by West Carolina. They had the lead for majority of that OT, and a disappointing ass loss for Furman. I mean, there's no other way to put it, and that's why I'm very not on this team at all. Losing that game to that team, guys, West Carolina has not played good basketball this season. They're 5-8, obviously now 1-1 in the SoCon Conference, but all around, West Carolina, we've seen the Catamounts before. They're not that good. So that's a real disappointing loss to take if you are Furman trying to build up some momentum, and now you got to take on a Chattanooga team who I understand has not been great this season, but a team that I still believe is capable. And you look at 3 of their last 4 losses, okay, on the road to Bellarmine, beating Alabama A&M on the road, losing to Greensboro by 5 points on the road, and losing to VMI by 8 points on the road. I'm not too concerned about that, honestly. I mean, again, you would have liked to win those games, obviously, but I don't think those are the worst losses necessarily to take. Earlier in the year, losing at St. Mary's, losing at UNLV. This is just a team that had to play a very tough non-con schedule. I don't have any defending really of the Tennessee State game, and I understand, Tennessee State's record is better than they actually are, so on paper that doesn't look horrible. And Tennessee State, I guess, is one of the better teams in the OVC, as well as I guess Southeastern Missouri State is one of the better teams in the OVC. I think the OVC sucks. With the exception of probably like Lindenwood and UT Martin, I think that conference sucks in college basketball. Okay, when you compare them to the other schools around the country, I think the OVC is really bad. But that's neither here or there. That doesn't matter. Well, it kind of does. It is what it is. Chattanooga, on paper, has lost to actually 2 decent OVC schools, regardless of how I personally feel about the conference. So, it's a 6-9 team, but a team that has really really has come up very short against some good squads. Furman does have them beat in terms of straight scoring, but I watched that Furman Catamounts game and West Carolina game, and man, do they go through such long periods in that game where they just can't score. That's why West Carolina is able to push that game in OT, because Furman just goes ice cold for too many minutes. And again, momentum is a real thing in college basketball. Having to go on the road is the big thing in college basketball. And I don't think Furman wins this game. Alex Wilkins has been great, averaging 17.5 points per game this season. Asa Thomas averages 13.5. Again, Wilkins is the star freshman. Last 4 games, 18 points, 24 points, 20 points, 24 points. He has been electric. Asa Thomas, sophomore for the school, transferred from Clemson last year, averaging 13.5 points per game in his sophomore season. Still, though, I got to go Chattanooga. Games at Chattanooga. This team over again in Tennessee has been very close to breaking through and winning and looking good in the SoCon. This is their game here. I think Furman's a little fraudulent from what I've seen so far this season. So I'm going to have to go with Chattanooga to finally break through and pick up their first win in SoCon play. Give me the Mocs at home, plus money, plus 115. Okay, on now to our second best bet of the video. Maybe not the highest level of basketball, and this might have not been the highest level of basketball either, but now we go to this. As the Loyola Maryland Greyhounds go on the road to West Point, New York to take on the Army Black Knights. I know, again, not potentially the highest level of the sport, but a game that Army should blow Loyola Maryland out in, okay? I'm going to bring up VMI again, but I feel like it's very important to bring up the Keydets one more time, not just because they're a military school and the Army's a military school. No, there's reasoning for this, okay? Loyola Maryland played at VMI about a month ago. And it was a big game for the Virginia Military Institute. The governor was in attendance, and it was just a really big game. They had a very, very loud student section, or I guess the cadets showed up in force in that game. Regardless, Loyola Maryland goes out there and plays VMI, and they have a lot of trouble stopping the three-point shooting, the heavy three-point shooting attack that the Virginia Military Institute has. Should probably just call them the Keydets from here on out. But you get my role in that, right? They really struggled to defend the three-point line. The Keydets really, anything that they wanted, the Keydets got. And Loyola Maryland just didn't have a response. Their three-point shooting is not as great. They want to attack the basket. They want to obviously drive, but they were forced to shoot uncharacteristically bad shots because of what the pressure the Keydets are putting on them. Okay, Loyola Maryland has still not won a game since that Keydets loss. And they were going into that game off of a one-game losing streak. That's not even a streak, but losing a game prior to that to Hampton. But they lose to Hampton, lose to VMI, then host Mount St. Mary's and lose by 8 points. They go to George Mason and lose. They go to American University and get blown out against American, who I know won the conference last season, but lost by 15 points to American University. Yikes. And then Loyola Maryland's last game, they played Lafayette at home, and the Leopards beat them by 15 points. I'm supposed to think this team's going to stay close with Army? I know Army, I might be a little bit higher on Army than some other people because we've seen Army come through so far this season and we've seen them score big points. I mean, we had them to beat Binghamton early, or I guess late in December, and we had them to win by, I think it was like 4.5 points, and the game was close for majority of it until the game got into overtime. And then Army went out there firing in OT, ended up beating Binghamton by 10 points and make it back-to-back OT victories because in their last game they go to Lehigh. Obviously they win, and they win in OT by 7 points. They're coming off an L to Colgate as Colgate beat them 76-69, but Army has played great basketball all year long, and I keep saying it, they're a much better home team. I know that is not entirely replicated or shown in the loss to Colgate, but there's one player in particular that is very solid for the Army Black Knights. His name is Ryan Curry. And if you look at Ryan Curry's splits, this is why we had picked against Army earlier in the season when they went to Baltimore to take on the UMBC Retrievers. Their splits from road to home, oh my goodness, and especially Ryan Curry's splits, they're not even close. I mean, this is a much better home team. They shoot, this is an Army team that looks to shoot the three-point ball as much as possible. So their three-point shot, from what we have seen so far this season, is significantly better at home this year, and that's also Ryan Curry. Ryan Curry at home shoots way better than he does on the road. I mean, he's putting up tour dates. Well, kind of technically everything's a tour date, but I mean, he's putting up January tour dates and February tour dates on the road. At home, I mean, we're looking at, summer and, maybe late spring tour dates. That was one hell of a convoluted way to say that. You know what I mean, right? I don't think I have to explain that. I apologize if that doesn't make sense. I think it does, right? Summer tour dates, 6 of 9 was his last game, right? June. Anyways, Ryan Curry's a good shooter. And if he can just get hot, boy, is he a problem. Because what we've seen at Army this year and when I've watched Army play, when Ryan Curry gets hot, the rest of the team gets hot. And Jackson Bell and Jackson Furman are the other two very good players in this team. Actually, Jason Holiday is pretty solid as well. Holiday does a lot different than what Bell, Furman, and Curry do. But you look at Ryan Curry, Jackson Bell, and Jackson Furman, they're all shooters. They all want to shoot the three-point ball. Ryan Curry shoots 38% from beyond the three-point line this season, but obviously he's the most active and he shoots the most threes on the team. Jackson Bell is a 40% three-point shooter, and Jackson Furman, who doesn't shoot as many threes as the other two, does shoot 41% from beyond the arc. So all three of those guys who are usually on the court for the same amount of time just let it go from three all night long. And again, a lot is dependent on what Ryan Curry does, because Curry, obviously, if he can start hitting, it sets up opportunities for the other two. And then there's Jason Holiday, who is their big. I can't say he's a big, but he plays big, kind of. Holloway is a aggressive scorer. He's 6'4", but he's one of the better rebounders on the team. He's just very physical, very athletic guy. Actually, Ryan Curry does lead the team in rebounds, but Jason Holiday acts as a 4 because they play 3 guards, and he's technically a 6'4" forward. That's just how they work. But again, those are their 4 best guys. As for Loyola Maryland, it's a one-man show. From what I've seen out of the Greyhounds this year, I mean, it's really... Actually, no, it's a 2-man show. It's Theodosu and Braden Speed. I forgot about Theodosu a little bit, because every time I watch Jacob Theodosu, he's just okay. I don't know. Watched him in the VMI game, could not get going, scored 7 points, and I understand that's probably the worst game he's played all year long. Lafayette game wasn't that great. He's a 3-point shooting threat, but not the biggest of threat. That doesn't make sense. Like, he's an all right 3-point shooter. He has it in his back pocket, but if you need to rely on Theodosu to hit threes, you're probably not going to win. The player that I'm honestly more impressed by is Braden Speed. I like Braden Speed quite a bit, averages 13 points per game. This is a guy who is an all-around scorer. 18 points in their last outing against Lafayette, 24 against George Mason. That's the player to watch in my opinion. I know Theodosu leads the team in scoring, but I believe Braden Speed is their best player. But I really just comp this matchup to VMI. And again, not because both VMI and Army are military academies or military schools. It's just legitimately style of play and how both those teams play. VMI and Army do the same exact thing. I do think VMI is better than the Army Black Knights, full transparency. But I don't know. I mean, Army just plays a different style of... Army... I don't know. I mean, Army's got more three-point shooters. VMI's got like 3. Army's got 4 basically on the court at the same time. Regardless, the Black Knights' three-point ability, I think, is just going to give Loyola Maryland so many problems this year. Games at West Point as well. Army's only a 4.5 favorite. I believe they cover that. And also at the same time with the Greyhounds, they haven't won a game in so long. Again, it has been over a month since Loyola Maryland has won a basketball game. And on top of that as well, look who they've beat this season. Penn State Abington, Washington College of Maryland, Coppin State, and Stonehill. Those are their 4 wins all year long. When your best win is hands down the Stonehill Skyhawks, who are 4-11 in the NEC, yeah, you got a problem. Army decimates the Greyhounds and easily covers 4.5 over at West Point. On now to our third best bet of the video and going to our only Power 5 game of the day today. Let's go to the SEC as the Oklahoma Sooners go on the road to Starkville, Mississippi to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Give me Oklahoma. I'm taking Oklahoma on the road against the one-man show known as Josh Hubbard and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Okay, Mississippi State, I still believe, is a bottom 3 team in the SEC. I think you can argue maybe they are the bottom team in the SEC. No, Ole Miss exists. And that is Oklahoma's only victory in the conference. Yeah, not great, but still, I believe Oklahoma is much better than Mississippi State. But anyways, I mean, you're hard-pressed to say Mississippi State. I mean, you're hard-pressed really to say and to name 5 teams that Mississippi State is better than in the Southeastern Conference. The 2 I will give you are Ole Miss and Texas. Just because what Texas has done so far in SEC play, and obviously that game that was played a couple nights ago or about a week ago between the Bulldogs and the Longhorns. And obviously Texas since went to Tennessee and lost. I guess Auburn's not that great either, as they've now lost back-to-back. But both of Auburn's games have been very competitive. I think Auburn probably would beat Mississippi State. Obviously, location and, where the games are played is a big factor. But regardless of all that, I'm not buying in on the Bulldogs. I'm not buying in on the Bulldogs because for Mississippi State to be consistent and to win, you need Josh Hubbard to be Superman. Because that's been the theme of Mississippi State Bulldogs basketball for the last 3 seasons. Okay, it's give the ball to Josh Hubbard, hope he gets the free throw line as many times as possible, let him chuck up as many threes as possible, and just let him go. Josh Hubbard is averaging 23 points per game this season. He went from averaging 17 in his freshman season to 19 last year in his sophomore year, now to 23. I'm not denying Josh Hubbard's scoring ability. He is phenomenal. I mean, Mississippi State has obviously instilled full confidence in the man to score and win them games. You need him to be Superman to win, though, and to win consistently, yes, you need Josh Hubbard to be that guy. And that's what they got against Texas. But when I look at Mississippi State, I say, and I think, how many times can you really rely on Hubbard to do this? And can you rely on him to do this in back-to-back games? Because other than Josh Hubbard, and I'll give you Jaden Epps, obviously the former Georgetown Hoya, who's been playing pretty fairly well this season, too. I know, just used 2 of the same adjectives, but you know what I mean. He's been playing really great basketball this season. Other than Hubbard and Epps, ooh man, it's a ghost town over in Starkville. I don't like anything else on this team. You look at Epps and Hubbard, oh yeah, they're hooping, right? Josh Hubbard against Texas, and this is the type of Herculean effort I'm talking about, and the amount of confidence this team has. It is the definition of keep on shooting. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're hot, if you're not hot, keep on shooting the basketball. We need it all game long. Because Josh Hubbard against the Texas Longhorns in Austin, 40 minutes, obviously there's an OT period in there as well, but 40 minutes, 38 points, 10 of 31 shooting, 6 of 17 from beyond the three-point line, and 12 for 15 from the free throw line. Again, the most confidence in the world. I mean, get yourself anybody who has the confidence in you that Mississippi State has in Josh Hubbard. It's all game long. It is over and over and over and over and over again. And then there's Jaden Epps, who in that same game, again, Hubbard scores 38, Epps scores 27. 9 for 21 from the field, 3 for 12 from beyond the arc, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, and 41 points. 41 minutes, my goodness, that would have been incredible if he scored 41 and Hubbard scored 38. Other than that, you're not going to get much other scoring. It's all Hubbard, and it's all Jaden Epps. But obviously, again, Josh Hubbard in big-time games, and we've seen this throughout the course of multiple now SEC runs with Josh Hubbard and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Obviously, they're getting ready for their third run. Hubbard, they're not afraid to give Hubbard 30 shots. They're not afraid to do so. I mean, it is continue shooting until you get hot, and you're gonna splash down some threes. That's what we want you doing. That's great, but I mean, better teams will figure this out. What is Oklahoma? Are they part of that better teams category? I don't know. Oklahoma's 11-3. I'll tell you this. I think they're good enough to beat Mississippi State. Are they a great team? I don't know about that. Right, because this is an 11-3 team this season. Their only 3 losses are Gonzaga. Okay, they've lost 1 game. I understand Seattle U almost got them, and the Redhawks may get them later in the season. Just you wait. I'm not talking about regular season. No, I'm talking WCC tournament. Just hold on to that one. Oklahoma lose to Zaga. That's expected. Go to Spokane, lose, obviously. Nebraska, okay. Well, Nebraska's undefeated. They continue to obviously overcome all the odds. They beat Ohio State. Don't worry, though. On Saturday, the Hoosiers are going to get them. By the way, quick side note. What the hell is Assembly Hall going to look like on Saturday morning? I mean, everyone's going to be in Atlanta. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be making the trip, but that'll be something, right? I mean, how rowdy is Assembly Hall going to get? How about less than 12 hours after the Peach Bowl ends? And hopefully the Hoosiers have punched their ticket to their first ever national championship. Anyways, going back to the SEC. The 3 losses for Oklahoma are Zaga, Nebraska, and Arizona State. Now, there is a polar bear in Arlington out of that bunch, with all due respect to ASU. Not in the level of undefeated Nebraska and perennial top 25 team and top 15 team, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, with all due respect. However, Oklahoma's 11-3. They're now coming off of 5 consecutive victories, beating OK State, Kansas City, Stetson, Mississippi Valley State, and then Ole Miss. Okay, it's no secret Ole Miss is not very good at basketball this season. I don't need to tell you that. But a win is a win in the SEC, and they won it by 16 points. I believe Oklahoma just has more talent than the Bulldogs, and the main reason, too, why I do pick against Mississippi State a lot is, again, they need Josh Hubbard to be Superman. And if Josh Hubbard comes out here and shoots the ball 35 times and hits on 35% of those shots and ends up scoring 40 points, you know what? I'm going to tip my hat, and obviously that would require 15 free throws. I'll tip my hat and say, you know what? Okay, Josh Hubbard, you got us. Okay? If that happens, I'll say, all right, got us. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, it is what it is. That's the name of the game, I guess. I don't think Josh Hubbard's going to be Superman, especially after that last game. And it's he didn't have a great statistical game. It's what they allow Josh Hubbard to do every night, though. It's keep on shooting. We don't give a damn. That's what we want. Yes, keep on shooting. More threes, more threes, more threes. Jaden Epps is a great number 2. I really liked Jaden Epps last year at Georgetown. Obviously, he's much better in 23 and 24, that season 2 years ago. But I think Jaden Epps still is a decent player. And I think he's very complimentary to what they want out of Josh Hubbard, 100%. But again, I can't pick the one-man show. No, I got to go Oklahoma here. I got to take the Sooners. Nigel Pack leads the charge or leads the pack. Get it? Get it? Okay, I'm sorry. Nigel Pack averages 16 points per game. This is a player who is still looking to replicate the success he saw in 2021. And no, that was not his freshman season. That was his sophomore year. Yeah, it's Nigel Pack's 6th year in college basketball, and he's averaged double digits for 5 years in college. And yep, he's on to his next school, obviously, that being the Oklahoma Sooners. But you know what? Again, he was great at K-State back in 21. Averaged 17 points or 18 points per game. He's averaging 16 this season. Very experienced player. Likely not a pro anywhere just because he's undersized. He's a 5'10" point guard. It's just how the game works. But Nigel Pack's been good this season. Xavier Brown averages 16 points. Tay Davis averages 12.5. My point with all this being there's too much talent on Oklahoma for them to lose this game. I understand they're going to Starkville. Not concerned. I think Josh Hubbard's going to chuck up 1,000,000 shots, and I don't think they're going to be all that successful in winning this game. Oklahoma's too good to lose to just Josh Hubbard and Jaden Epps. I got to go with the Sooners tonight on the road in Starkville. Give me the Sooners to win the game outright, -115 here in their second SEC game. And now they're just stacking the bad SEC wins. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, bring on Texas next. I don't think they have Texas next, but the Longhorns suck too. Anyways, on to our 4th best bet of the video. We move to the zero bid conference. Of course, I got to be talking about the A-10. Davidson takes on Loyola Chicago. okay, this game shouldn't be close. I really don't think it is, guys. I know Davidson went through their rough stretch this season already. Loyola Chicago sucks. I'm sorry, but it's the truth, okay? The Ramblers are awful this season. This is a team that lost at home to Chicago State. Now, somehow they beat Santa Clara, and I guess the Broncos aren't as good as I thought they were, but I mean, why wouldn't I be sold after what they did at the beginning of the season? Whatever. And then Loyola Chicago goes to URI and wins, which is a little confusing too, because like nobody goes to Rhode Island. When McNeese went to Rhode Island, it was a monumental thing. It was like, no way. Someone went to URI and won in non-con play, and it's okay, well, it's McNeese. And then Loyola Chicago did it. And now I'm like, no, it was the McNeese thing. I'm like, really? Oh, now the McNeese victory isn't as good. But we know McNeese is just, I guess, a, conference champion fraud. Anyways, just like they always get into the tournament, they're always a 12 seed and they just keep on losing, but it is what it is. Regardless of all of that, Davidson versus Loyola Chicago. Guys, Davidson's just better than this team. Davidson's coming off a road victory for their second A10 game. They started the A10, their A10 play at home, losing to Duquesne, and they go play St. Joseph's and they win the game. They go to St. Joe's and they win it. They are basically trailing the entire night. St. Joe's gets off to a hot start. That game at halftime is a 9-point lead for the Hawks. And I'm not joking. I don't think Davidson ever had the lead in this game until 2 minutes to go. Yeah, I don't think they did. And in the final 5 minutes, the final 2 minutes of that game, Davidson, who's, just inching and clawing, continuously that entire game, they eventually fight their way back into it, take the lead very late, and ultimately win the game by 6 points. They go on a nice 8-0 or 9-0 run to close the game, and the Wildcats win it. They barely had the lead the entire game. But that's the type of momentum shifter and momentum booster a team like that absolutely needs. A team that had struggled this season, but I still believe a struggling Davidson team is better than whatever the hell is going on in North Chicago. Anyways, the Wildcats, 9-5 this season. The losses, honestly, aren't the worst. It's Utah State. We know how good that team is in the Mountain West. St. Mary's, that's always the 1B team in the WCC, obviously behind the Bulldogs. Temple at home. I think that was at home. Was that neutral site? Might have been neutral site. No, it was at home. You know what? It's Temple. Temple's not bad. They're not. We'll see what they turn out to be. They haven't been tested too much in American play yet. We'll see. The American's a weird conference of college basketball. It really is. I don't think Tulane's like as good as, I don't think Temple's as good as like Tulane or Memphis. But especially Memphis. I know Memphis had a bad non-con. I still expect them to win the American this season. But anyways, like Memphis is playing now like a Power 5, basically, non-con schedule every season. Anyways, Davidson loses to Temple. Okay, whatever. Lose to Kansas. And then a double overtime game against Duquesne. I don't really care. I mean, these are good games. And I think we could still have a lot of confidence in the Wildcats to go out here and beat Loyola Chicago, who sure went to URI and picked up a huge win, then opened up A10 play, the second A10 game, obviously. Did I say Loyola Chicago and URI was a non-con game earlier? I think I misspoke on that. You know what I mean, obviously, right? Because just still going to URI in general is difficult. Obviously, what McNeese did may be harder. Regardless. Loyola Chicago then has their second A10 game and plays Dayton. They lose by 2 points at home. Okay. I think Davidson beats this team. I really think so. I think, Loyola Chicago played a good game against Dayton, but we got to think, throughout this entire season and just how piss poor the Ramblers have played. I mean, there's a reason they're 5-10. This team lost at home to Mercyhurst. For reference and for comparison, I understand. Again, college basketball and just sports don't always work like this. But Loyola Chicago lost at home by 8 points to Mercyhurst. Davidson beat the Mercyhurst Lakers by 33 points and held the Lakers to 15 points in the first half. I just want to put that out there. I just want to put that out there. So, Loyola Chicago's got so many bad L's, man. Mercyhurst at home. Losing to Northern Illinois by 16 points at home. Northern Iowa, who I like, beats them by 21 points. San Jose State beats you by double digits. That San Jose State team we watched yesterday lay an egg against Fresno State and basically never have the lead against the Bulldogs. That SJSU team. We already mentioned Chicago State. I mean, it has been piss poor performance after piss poor performance. I gotta go with the Davidson Wildcats, who have been led all year long by, well, a committee. There's not one player I'm gonna point out and say, you gotta watch out for this guy. No, they play a very deep rotation. They're not afraid to play 9 guys, potentially. Robert Blum, Sam Brown, Josh Scovins, Parker Fredrickson, Nick Koval. It's a bunch of players. Loyola Chicago, I don't really need a report on anything. Justin Moore is the one bright spot, I'll say. Averages 13 points or 14 points per game. Moore has now put up 15, 15, 19, and 19 in 4 straight games. Moore is very experienced, junior season, the 4th year as a whole for college basketball. Played 2 years at Drexel. Last year was his first year with the Ramblers. I believe he got injured last season. And now in his second year, obviously, with Loyola Chicago after getting that medical red shirt or getting that red shirt season. I'm not wowed. I'm going to have to go Davidson. They play all around better team basketball. I mean, this is simple. Just watch the way the Ramblers have played this season. I don't care the games in Chicago. I got to go with Davidson. So give me Stephen Curry's former school, obviously, in the Davidson Wildcats to win this game, winning their third A-10 game this season. Give me the Wildcats on the road to win at -130. Okay. On to our final best bet of the video, and we close things, obviously, well, not obviously, we close things with our late game, our night game, of course, Mountain West Nightcap. Yeah, Mountain West Nightcap. I know the Mountain West was not kind to us at all yesterday. In non-Mountain West games yesterday, we went 3-0. And then we got to the late night games with the Mountain West, and, well, we got screwed by San Jose State, and Nevada, again, decided to shoot 20% from beyond the arc. Or no, not beyond the arc, just in general after the first 15 minutes of that game. Regardless, here we are. We're back in the Mountain West Conference for the Grand Canyon Lopes going on the road to take on Boise State. I know this is obviously a very typical Mountain West game. It's one that we've all come to love, obviously, with Grand Canyon in the MWC. But here we are, the Lopes going on the road to take on Boise State. I'm gonna use my rationale one more time. And I know it didn't work yesterday because I was like, San Diego State coming off a triple overtime game just a couple days ago, and now they got to roll right back into a game, especially on the road at UNR. It's like Nevada's got to clean this up. And for the first 15 minutes of that game, I was pumped. I was like, my hypothesis, that's very scientific, Oh god, I feel like I'm back in elementary school with that statement. But like my hypothesis on that game was right, and then Nevada decided, you know what? We're not going to score. We're just going to turn the ball over every possession and shoot 20% from the field. But it's okay. I'm going to use this one more time. Boise's coming off a triple overtime game where they were losing big, obviously, got back in the game, should have won it at multiple different points in that game, but it's fine. They didn't, whatever, and ultimately lose the game by 3 points in triple overtime. Okay. You're coming off that 3 overtime game just a couple days ago, and now you got to go back home. Sure, you're not back on the road, but still, you got to go home. You got to play Grand Canyon. For the first time ever in Mountain West play, you're taking on the Lopes. The Lopes are 1-1 in Mountain West play, and they started MWC playoff perfectly, man, going to Laramie and beating Wyoming. A shock win. I believe they were like 3.5-point dogs in that game. They go to Wyoming and they win the game outright. Dominant first half. They're up by 19 points at half, and they ultimately win the game by 12 points. It's just a phenomenal victory for the Grand Canyon Lopes in that one against the Cowboys. And then they roll into their next Mountain West game at home against Colorado State, and they lose it by 10 points. I believe they are favored in that game as well, or unlike, I guess, their Wyoming game, and they lose it by 10. Colorado State is a decent team. The Rams were 0-2 in Mountain West play prior to that outing, but they do go into Phoenix, and they win the game outright against GCU. Okay, Grand Canyon now going on the road, where they have been very successful so far this season in one game in the MWC, but they're undefeated in Mountain West play, school history, on the road in the Mountain West. And they get a chance to do it again against Boise State. Sure, it's 1-0, but you get the gist. I think they can keep this game close. I think they can. I mean, when you play Boise, a lot is dependent on their center. Just everything's built upon Drew Fielder, and then there's a lot of Andrew Meadow, Buchanan, and Dylan Andrews. That's kind of just everything that they have. Like, those are their 4 guys. Dylan Andrews, obviously former UCLA Bruin, started for UCLA last season. Obviously was not the biggest scorer on that team last year because Bill Ladeau and Sky Clark and all those guys. There's name a few. I mean, there's a crap ton of talent on that team last season. Andrews, I didn't think ever saw eye to eye with the coaching staff. At least those were some reports I saw. But anyways, he's now at Boise. Makes sense. He's playing fairly well, but it's a big lead team, obviously, with Drew Fielder, who is their starting center, and then you got the forwards as well, and Andrew Meadow and Javon Buchanan, who do most of their scoring. But again, it's a lot of Drew Fielder. It's enter the ball in the post, enter the ball down low, and see what Drew Fielder can do with it. They've tried to use Fielder. They've tried not to burn Fielder that much this season, as they've been really playing him like 20 minutes per game, but they used him for 38 minutes, obviously, against SCSU because he had to play in overtime. This is a player, again, who averages 22 minutes per night, but leads the team in scoring. Former Georgetown Hoya in his first season over in Boise, Idaho. Andrew Meadow, 3-point shooter. At least he'll try. Depending on the game, but I mean, Meadow's going to sit in the corner. He's going to look for that 3, and he can attack the basket. His picture, on ESPN, and just his picture in general is much different than he actually looks now. He looks like an absolute nerd in his picture on ESPN. If you want to look up Andrew Meadow, he looks nothing like that anymore. And then there's Javon Buchanan, who scored 29 against San Diego State. Obviously, it was a very high-scoring game. It was 110 to 107. Buchanan was the star of that game, though, for Boise State. 4 for 6 from beyond the three-point line, 10 for 13 from the field. He was phenomenal. Can you rely on that consistency every single night, though, out of Boise? Absolutely not. So for GCU, this game's dependent on what they can do to stop Drew Fielder. Well, okay, bring in Nana Anane. That's the matchup tonight. Nana, the former Brown Bear, who's now at GCU, averages 10 points per game and 9 rebounds per game. He is going to be tasked with dealing with Fielder all night long. Okay, I think this is an all right matchup, truthfully. I think it's going to be okay. I mean, we saw that SDSU versus Boise game, and in big spots for San Diego State, Miles Heide showed up. Miles Heide showed up against Drew Fielder in big spots, and Heide, was lacking height on Fielder. It's kind of the same, size matchup in terms of what Miles Heide and Drew Fielder was, what Nanu Anane and Drew Fielder is as well. Like, I don't think Anane is going to do the scoring Heide was doing late in that game. Maybe, though. I mean, Heidi's not a scorer. He just showed up in the third overtime. I'm okay with this, man. I really think the big matchup is going to, I don't know if it's going to favor GCU, but I don't think it's going to overwhelmingly favor the Boise State Broncos. And I will argue the best scorer and the best scorer on the court is going to be on GCU. That is the senior out of Ontario, California, and Jaden Henley. Henley on his fourth school in 4 different years. Started at Minnesota with the Golden Gophers, then went to DePaul, was at UNLV last year. Obviously, everybody departed UNLV in the offseason in the portal, and now Henley's with Grand Canyon. He's averaging 17 points per game. I cannot talk about GCU without talking about my guy from the Norfolk State Spartans last season of the MEAC Conference. Of course, I'm talking about Brian Moore Jr., still a very capable player, is going to play, minutes dependent on the night, but I do like Brian Moore quite a bit. Former Murray State racer at Norfolk State last season, the best player in the MEAC Conference, MEAC Player of the Year, averaged 18.5 points on the MEAC winning Norfolk State Spartans. Got to watch him play in person over at the farm. It was great. Brian Moore is on Grand Canyon. He does start, doesn't have the impact he had on the Norfolk team, but he does play decent minutes for the Lopes. I like GCU quite a bit. Plus 8.5. I just think it's too many points considering the game Boise just came off of and the fact that we've already seen GCU be successful on the road this season in the Mountain West. I know it's different going to Extra Mile and playing Boise than it is going to Laramie and playing the Cowboys of Wyoming, but give me GCU on the road plus 8.5 at Boise State. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college basketball best bets here on January 7th. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.